Welcome to Small Business Big Story, powered by Opswell. I'm your host, M.F. Booker. Thank my moms for that. Love you, Ma. Small Business Big Story, the place where businesses come for community and camaraderie. In today's economic environment of tariffs, inflation, reduced profit margins, a shifting workforce, and now even a federal government shutdown, we need to network, share best practices, and support each other now more than ever. So get your sense of community here. Our rising tide raises all boats. Commercial time.
Small Business Big Story is brought to you by Opswell, the premier B2B service connecting buyers and sellers. If you are looking to develop new business relationships that can support your business journey and enhance your sense of community, head on over to Opswell. That's OPPSWELL. Check it out and get your 6-month free trial. Community and networking is everything to business. Who you know is just as important as what you know.
And we're back. So let's get into it. Each week, we shine a light on the grit, the grind, the heart, the hustle behind small businesses. Real stories, real resources, real advice. So wherever you are in your business evolution, this is your space to learn, to reflect, to get inspired, and build your sense of community. Now, I know most of you heard the expression, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Now, I am not discounting the importance of knowledge. Trust me, I am not. But if you are the smartest person on the planet and you keep that knowledge in a box, in a room, or as my generation would say, in a booth in the back in the corner in the dark, then you really have to ask yourself, what is the value of that knowledge? So how do you ensure to get the most of that knowledge? By sharing and connecting with others. And what is one of the most effective ways to do that? Networking. So today, we're talking all things networking, undoubtedly one of the most powerful yet often overlooked tools for business success. Networking and belonging to business-focused organizations. This is so important because running a small business can sometimes feel like you are going it alone. But when you tap into the right resources and the right networks and the right organizations, you gain access to knowledge, resources, and opportunities that you simply cannot create on your own. So our guest today knows all about this firsthand. He has seen how the right connections can fuel growth and open doors and help businesses not only survive, but thrive. So let's talk about why building relationships and joining business-focused organizations can make all the difference in the world. My guest today, Michael Brathwaite. Welcome, Michael. So happy to have you here. I'm going to give you a title.
Great to be here. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Michael is the Executive Director of Business Network International, BNI, and Michael's coming to us from all the way from the Big Apple, New York City. So again, welcome, Michael. So happy to have you here, and would love for you to start by telling us a little bit about yourself and about BNI.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for that. And certainly, I've been part of BNI for literally over 30 years now, 35 years. And really in the beginning, when I got started, I was in the investment world, and your job is to go out and meet new people and develop relationships and get clients. Mm-hmm. And when I first started, I used to go to every networking event, get all the business cards I could possibly get. And over time, I just piled up a bunch of cards on my desk. And I really realized over time it wasn't as effective. And then somewhere along the way, I got introduced through a gentleman in the insurance world, introduced me to BNI and invited me in as a member. And that taught me that it wasn't just about how many people you meet. It's really more about how well do you know them? Can you develop relations with them? And that's really the concept of BNI. So that was really the transformation for me.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So interesting things you talked about there about collecting the cards and connecting. I know a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, that sounds good. But give me some proof. I want to know, give me an example of how this networking has really helped. So can you share maybe a personal story about how networking made the difference? And when you thought back, well, if you hadn't done those things to connecting with people, to network, to be a part of a group like BNI, how things may have turned out.
Well, I think it came down to being more efficient, right? So you could spend an enormous amount of time going, you can go out 7 days a week and meet A lot of people. But really, once I went to BNI and this real concept, it's one person per profession or specialty. So you're ending up meeting one CPA, one real estate agent, one investment person. So it's very segmented. But now you're developing very specific relationships. You're getting to know them. And one of the key philosophies is if you expect someone to help you, the best way to do that is help them first. And I think
Absolutely.
that whole concept of developing that allowed me to build deep relationships where we became really allies with each
Mm-hmm.
other. And over
Mm-hmm.
time, I've closed about one third of my business over the years came from those specific relationships.
Got it. So, Michael, one of the things that I would love for you to share some insights on, because I know that you do a lot of work with small businesses. You talked about the importance of connecting in and making sure that you follow up on the connections you're making. A lot of small business owners are literally working 24/7, going nonstop. Some of them are even just trying to stay afloat, and they might say, "Yeah, this sounds great." But how do I even find the time to do this? And what is the value of me as a small business owner doing this? So I would love kind of your thoughts on, telling these small business owners, yeah, you might be going 24/7, but if you were to do things like networking, like belonging to certain organizations, maybe you could only work 22/7 instead of 24/7.
Exactly. Well, I think part of the issue is that you're always looking to grow your business, right? No matter where we're in business. So it's becoming, so part of your challenge is getting more efficient, certainly, and understanding part of your time has to be spent on the marketing side. And you have two choices. If you have a big enough budget, you could hire somebody and they can do an advertising budget for you. They can, put a lot of stuff online, but that requires a budget. If you're really starting out brand new or, in the business a few years and don't have unlimited resources, then
Mm-hmm.
the opportunity to use your powers to be out in the world, but it's about the efficiency. And what I
Right.
love about even the BNI concept, it really is off hours in many cases. A lot of our meetings, which scares people, are at
Mm.
7 a.m. in the morning, right? And
Yeah,
and you
that's pretty off hour for New York City.
video hours. It was a challenge to get people to believe in it at first. But when you think about it, that 7 a.m. to call it 8:30 time slot, what were you doing? Now I know we
Yeah.
say we work 24/7, but we do sleep some of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so we
Mm-hmm.
say once a week, get up, go sit around with a bunch of other business people that are like-minded like yourself, and have
Mm-hmm.
conversations about how you could help each other, and
Right.
that will allow you to really develop, relationships.
So, Michael, you mentioned, and I love the 7 a.m. concept, and I know that probably was a lot for people to put their arms around, but once they started doing it, they saw the value of it. So, what I'd like to, discuss for a bit is small business owners. I'm sure that they are bombarded by a lot of, join this group, join that group. Some of them are free, some of them are not. How does a small business owner evaluate what group should I be a part of, and how do I determine what the value is of these
That's a
groups?
great question. I would say the first step is trying to get the best use of your time, right? And so you want to find a group that they're very serious, they're focused on business, right? There's a lot of other great organizations, but sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we kind of conflate the two, right? We go to other organizations that are maybe towards fundraising, nonprofits, things that you
Mm-hmm.
hope may get business towards you, but that's not the immediate intention of those groups, right? So you want to go to groups that are business oriented. You want to go to groups that have efficiency in time. And then in terms of how you select a group, it's really the community you feel the most comfortable in and where you think you can impact the people in the room. And people
Mm-hmm.
always think,
Mm-hmm.
where do I get the most business? Ultimately, it's
Yeah.
where you can give the most business.
Right. No, that's fair. And I've actually heard you say this before too, Michael, about it's better to maybe go deep in a few as opposed to spreading yourself thin around so many different groups, because if you can go deep enough, you'll truly get the value out of those organizations that you select as the few you want to focus on.
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's the challenge, right? If you have, and I would say, if you had a CPA was your great contact and they can give you a lot of referrals, some people think, well, let me
Mm-hmm.
have 15 or 20 CPAs that are going to be giving me referrals. But can you give 15 or 20 CPAs? Can you help them? Right.
Yeah.
And so
Mm-hmm.
if you have one or two, you develop a consistent relationship, you see them on a regular basis, you start to develop more than just a business relationship. It really becomes a friendship. And just to give one example, I had a gentleman I worked with that joined a BNI chapter, and
Mm-hmm.
the attorney in the chapter ended up passing him one third of his business came from this one attorney. But how the relationship
Wow.
started, they were both recently divorced. They both
Mm-hmm.
had single boys who were 8 or 9 years old, and they both loved boating. So on the
Wow.
weekends, they used to go out on the boat, take their sons on the boat, and they really developed a friendship, a personal relationship. And then the
Mm-hmm.
business became very natural and organic because of
Right.
the relationship they had. So
Yeah.
ultimately, you're trying to find the people you connect with and really trying to
Mm-hmm.
find your community.
Yeah. And I love where you say organic because sometimes when these relationships are forced, they just don't work well and they're very uncomfortable. So organic development of relationships is so important. And that's how I think that's one of the reasons that organizations are so important because you're in the same room or in the same group and it just feels a little more natural.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you have a
Yeah.
shared vision, right? Shared
Yeah.
goals.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
what you hope the organization does for you is also support you, not just in giving you business. And it's also in it's building you up your morale, teaching
Mm-hmm.
you the blind spots you might not see because
Yeah.
you get the opportunity to be coached by the other
Mm-hmm.
professionals in the room. Right.
Yeah.
And there's things you
Yeah.
may not even see in yourself that
Mm-hmm.
others that are your friends. And the only way you can even do this, you have to develop a relationship. You're not going to meet someone the first time and start critiquing
Mm-hmm.
them, right? That's
Yeah.
that's not
Right.
appropriate. Right? But after you see someone weekly over years, right, it's
Yeah.
easy to comfortably say, just a heads up. And I've had that for me
Mm-hmm.
over the years. People have really
Yeah.
coached me and guided me and given me great thoughts on how I can approach things in a different way than
Mm-hmm.
maybe I had even saw because we
Yeah.
can't see ourselves, right? Others
Yeah.
will.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So, what would you say, Michael, to someone, and this might be somewhat generational too, people who are not comfortable networking, people who are introverts like me? I thought I'd get a smile out
I
of that
love
one.
that. It's hard for people to believe, but the irony is I was an introvert
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you get people comfortable, with this whole concept of networking and going into a room and seeing all these people and starting up conversations? What do you say to people to inspire them and tell them, hey, you can do this too? And it may feel uncomfortable, but you can do it too.
Exactly. And I think that's where it starts. It's having that courage to take the first step and realizing most people are uncomfortable in a setting where they're meeting people they don't know and going in for the first time. That's a very natural. And that's why if you end up developing a organization or a group that you can meet on a regular basis, then you become friends, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to, now you're just talking to your friends. It becomes very easy because most people don't say they don't like to present, right? If there's a large room, but
Yeah.
most people have a problem speaking to one person. So
Mm-hmm.
it's more a mindset. And I remember years ago, we had a young woman who joined the group
Mm-hmm.
and she gave her, we do like 60-second little commercials. She was so nervous. She was shaking. I mean,
Wow.
really like to the point
Mm-hmm.
where you could see how uncomfortable she was. And that happened
Mm-hmm.
for 3 months, 6 months. Then all of a sudden you start to get more and more comfortable. By the end of one year, she stood up one day and said, I'm looking for speaking engagements. It's
Wow.
so
That's a
yeah,
success story for
e-
sure.
exactly.
Yeah.
And as
Yeah.
we say, how do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice,
Yeah.
practice, practice.
Practice, practice, You know what? Practice, 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 and support. Because my takeaway from this, Michael, is that she felt so much more comfortable because she had people in the room who were cheering her on.
100%, 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what we remind people of. Even if, sometimes we see it, they'll start, they'll pause, they'll lose their way, which that's okay. And then even no matter what you did this week, come back
Mm-hmm.
next week and do it again. And
Bingo.
each week you will get better. And I've seen it over the
Mm-hmm.
years. And I've just the observation that you don't even realize you're getting better
Yeah.
because it becomes more natural to you.
No, absolutely. So you got to have that hype squad with you.
Absolutely.
So I would love, given that we're doing this digitally, talk about how does the digital, I don't know if it's a revolution or evolution, but how does that impact networking now? Because sometimes you may not be in a room and you don't have that personal touch. So talk about how technology and the digital, age that we're in now plays into being an effective networker.
Yeah, and certainly in New York for us, because New York really went through a tough period during the pandemic. So a lot of our groups are now 100% virtual. And I
Mm-hmm.
would say the positive of that is you have you take away your travel time, you take away the effort to get to the meeting. So that's a gain,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
The
Mm-hmm.
hard part is when you're at the meeting, it's your challenge to yourself to really be focused and not, and I like to say, distract yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because,
Mm-hmm.
you have your emails going, you're looking at text, you're thinking about the next meeting, and you could easily lose sight of paying attention to that screen. But if you come and give the honest effort and really pay attention to what's going on, you'll be able to develop relationships that will be successful over time. And you also have the opportunity to meet many more people than
Mm-hmm.
you ever could just in your local area. And we've seen it over the years where we have, for example, in New York, we have Miami realtors that join the group
Wow.
because New
Yeah.
York to
Mm-hmm.
Florida is a kind of
Mm-hmm.
a standard, back and forth, and people buy homes in Florida all the time that live in New York. And so realtors
Mm-hmm.
have figured out instead of waiting till they
Mm-hmm.
get to Florida, I'll go to New
Right.
York and meet them.
There
And
you
as
go.
long as you have relationships in the city that you can contribute, it works
Mm-hmm.
really well. And
No,
so I
absolutely.
think as we look forward into the future, technology will continue to be as it gets more efficient and as we get more comfortable with it. And certainly the
Mm-hmm.
younger generation,
Yes.
that's all they'll know. Where we
Mm-hmm.
look at that is generation, right? The older generation, we want to shake hands and see somebody and give them a hug. And the younger generation don't want to do all that.
No.
They don't need hugging. They don't need
Yeah,
hugging.
they're not doing that. Well, that's actually an interesting segue into my next question because I've heard, the debate back and forth too. Because, business cards. Do you walk around with a stack of business cards in your pocket? Because, I now have, a digital card because I can't run a technology company and I don't have a digital business card. So would
Exactly.
love your take on that one as well.
Yeah, I mean, certainly, I think the cards are going further away, right,
Mm-hmm.
from the where we used to be, where it was cards all over the place. So the electronic card is the way of the future. And for me personally, I've said this, I've lost cards of people that I really did want to talk to, and I put it in a safe place. I got to hold this up. It was a good contact you made, and then all of a sudden you're like, "Where's the card?" So one of
Right.
the benefits of when you do it digitally, you won't lose it. But whether
Yes.
you're using a card, whether you're doing it digitally, at the end of the day, it's about did you follow up and are you making
Mm-hmm.
continuing connections with that person? As I said, cards in themselves don't make you money.
Yeah.
It's
No,
what you do
absolutely.
with those cards or what you do with those connections
Mm-hmm.
electronically or digitally. Well, that's going to matter in the end.
Yep. Follow up and follow through.
Exactly right.
So important. Yep. So my last question for you, Michael, is where do you see, the role of networking, going in the future, joining organizations, because everything is changing so fast these days. And I have to imagine that things will not be the same 5 years from now as they are today. But if you had like that crystal ball that kind of tell you, where things are going, what do you think that crystal ball would tell you about where this whole networking business group will be in 5 to 10 years?
What's interesting, part of us would think it may be dying down because of the technology taking over
Mm-hmm.
in this world of AI and all the things that we see there. But what we've seen, especially post pandemic, the human connection is still so critical to our success and being able to plug into a group so you're not isolated, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I
Mm-hmm.
think even as we look 5 years out, we'll be doing a lot more things remotely, we'll be doing a lot more things through technology, but we still will need to connect with people and make those contacts. And the best way you could think about this looking backwards, remember when phones first started and you had answering service, push one for
Mm-hmm.
this, push two for
Yes.
that, right? And the businesses loved it, right? Because they
Yeah.
didn't have to talk to anybody, right?
Right. Right.
It was automated and the customers called in, they pushed those numbers. But from the customer side, did we want to
Mm-hmm.
push one and two? We try, you
Yeah.
looking for
Yeah.
how do you get to the operator? How do I
Right.
get to a
Right.
person, right? And so
Yep.
I
Mm-hmm.
think the good news is the whoever really stays in front of their customers, stays
Mm-hmm.
connected with them and shows them the human difference because
Yes.
we all may be in the same business doing the same things, but what
Mm-hmm.
separates us from our competition is who we are and the special
Right.
touch we bring to the table. You're not going to see that through the technology.
No,
You're going to see
absolutely.
that through the human connection.
So, Michael, that was such a great point. I don't think, and you're right. The human connection is never going to go away. It doesn't, and because even with the technology, somebody's got to run it. So we're always going to have people involved in all these processes. But I don't think that there's anything that's more important than that one-on-one connection that you can make with other folks, and that's why networking is so important.
Absolutely.
So thank you, Michael. This was great. Today we've heard about how networking and joining business-focused organizations can transform the way that small businesses grow, the way they connect, and the way that they thrive. You know, it's about building authentic relationships and finding the right groups, and also measuring the ROI. Because like we said, these small businesses, they're going 24/7, and they've got to figure out what is the value add of me doing this. And it's really clear that networking, and I love all the points you shared, it's not a nice to do or nice to have, it's a must have. So, you know, it doesn't matter whether you're just starting out in your business or you've been doing your business for years. You've got to keep yourself connected with the right people and stay engaged with the right groups and support your community and allow your community to support you. So those are all the takeaways I got from our talk, Michael. So I think I got them all.
You nailed it. You nailed
Yeah.
it.
So what I want to ask, if people want to, you know, learn more about BNI, because I do know that you are in New York BNI, but there are BNI groups in other states. It's actually an international organization. You know, what's the best way for people to do that? How can they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. Yeah, BNI.com would be our national, or actually our global website, and we're in about 76 countries around the world, and certainly in every state in the US of A. And if they want to specifically reach out to me, ManhattanBNI.com is where they can reach out to me. That's the New York City website. So I'd be glad to talk to anybody who has any questions.
So I want to thank you again, Michael, for everything that you've shared. And I want to say to everybody who's listening, if today's conversation resonated with you, take that next step. Reach out to a local business group, attend a networking event, or even start to build your own community online. The relationships you invest in today could be the fuel for your business tomorrow. And of course, continue to add value to your network by sharing this episode with Michael Brathwaite with other business owners. And if you've got a story you want me to tell or a topic you want me to cover, or you just have a question, let me know. I want to thank everybody for joining us on Small Business Big Story, where we amplify the voices of small business owners and advocates. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn so that you never, ever, ever miss a story. And finally, head over to opswell.com to learn more about joining the Opswell community. Thanks for listening to Small Business Big Story, and I'll see you on the next episode. And as we say in parting, that's the word. Now go make it real.